After having games against Manchester City, Liverpool, Manchester United and Tottenham, Newcastle United currently sits in the top 4 of the Premier League table. This is despite having played all of those teams. They were only defeated in one of these significant contests, and that defeat came at the hands of Liverpool, who scored the game-winning goal in the 98th minute from approximately 1 yard away. You can't even call it a fluke, because it's still the only game they've lost so far this season, and it's still the only game they've lost so far. They have maintained a clean sheet 5 times in 12 matches, which is tied for the most in the Premier League. They have also won 3 of their games by a margin of 3 goals, which indicates that they are not merely winning, but doing so in a manner that is compelling. At this time, they are well on their way to playing football in Europe during the following season. But how did Newcastle end up in this location? What on earth could possibly go wrong with Newcastle United at this point? Let's not beat around the bush here. A significant portion of the success they are currently enjoying is a direct result of the new ownership's efforts. In December of the previous year, PIF, PCP Capital Partners and the Reuben brothers successfully finalised a takeover of the club. We won't get into the specifics of the Saudi buyout because we don't want to bore you, but it's crucial to point out that after the takeover was done, a significant amount of money was invested in the club. At this time last year, the club was in the midst of a fight to avoid relegation. Following the takeover, which occurred in October 2021, Newcastle was able to hire a new manager, Eddie Howe, and then sign 5 new players in the January transfer window for a combined total of €130.5 million. These players were Kieran Trippier, Bruno Guimaraes, Chris Wood, Dan Burn and Joe Willock. After that, they were able to borrow Matt Targett from Aston Villa for a while. They were able not only to survive relegation that season thanks to the investment, but they were also able to thrive. They finished the season in 11th place on the table, but they were well aware that they needed to make even more investments over the summer in order to advance up the table. In order to acquire Nick Pope, Sven Botman and Alexander Isak, as well as sign Matt Targett to a long-term contract, they shelled out an additional €136 million during the summer of 2017. Oh, and they came close to signing Neymar as well. If you were to take a closer look at these additions, you would notice that this is not a football club that is simply going into debt to make extravagant purchases. They were careful to make the appropriate signings at the appropriate times. They didn't just go for the most recognisable big names, instead, they picked players that they were already familiar with, would be suitable for their aesthetic, and they managed to get them. These new recruits have been able to come in and support the players who have been doing well since before the takeover, such as Alan Saint-Maximin, Callum Wilson and Fabian Schär. Those players include Alan Saint-Maximin and Callum Wilson. Other players such as Joe Linton and Miguel Almiron have also been able to perform to their full potential as a result of the additions and the hiring of the new manager, which has allowed for this. The most recent rankings of the Premier League's best scorers place Almiron in 5th place. In his last 5 games played in the league, he has racked up 5 goals scored. On the other hand, it took him 61 games before he scored his first 5 goals in the Premier League. This demonstrates how much he has progressed since the new coach and new ownership took over the team. It is undeniable that Newcastle's current success can be directly attributed, at least in part, to his form. But his presence alone isn't the only thing that's altered the appearance of Newcastle's defence. Sven Botman, Nick Pope, Dan Burn, Matt Targett and Kieran Trippier have all joined the club as well. Now they boast the most formidable defence unit in the Premier League at the moment. They have indeed tied for the most number of clean sheets and have given up the fewest number of goals up to this point. During the previous campaign, they were ranked 6th worst in the league in terms of defensive performance, allowing 62 goals. Throughout the year, after only 2 transfer windows, this is a remarkable turnaround, and one of the most impressive things about the group that Eddie Howe has developed is that you can't claim that they are dependent on any one player in particular. Because the team is so strong overall, you can put your faith in any member to come through for you when you need them. For instance, even if key members of the team such as Saint-Maximin and Isak, who is relatively new to the squad, are currently sidelined due to injury, the group is still performing admirably. We all know that Wilson is constantly nursing some sort of ailment, but even when he and other key players are off, the team never really misses them. That right there is the depth of the squad. Additionally, we feel obligated to mention that the fact that they are not now located in Europe is a huge advantage for them at this time. They are free to devote their undivided attention to the league and work on achieving the best possible point total. While this is going on, the other guys surrounding them have to be concerned about one European competition after another. It also indicates that while these other clubs are engaged in combat in Europe, the players for Newcastle are getting some much needed rest and recuperation in preparation for the upcoming league match. This will most likely be a highly significant match for Newcastle United this season if they finish in a position that qualifies them for Europe. Factor, and at this point it is virtually guaranteed that they will qualify for the Champions League or at the very least the Europa League. The European Cup Winners' Cup, we would like to bring to your attention the fact that they are now in 4th place, higher than teams like as Manchester United, Chelsea and Liverpool. Also, as a result of their victory over Spurs the week before, they are now only 2 points behind them, 5 points behind City, and 7 points behind Arsenal at the top of the table. They have not yet reached their full potential, but there is still time for them to improve before the World Cup break in November. And while we're on the subject of the World Cup, it turns out that quite a few of their star players won't be participating. A number of players, including Dan Burn, Wilson, Joe Linton, Almiron, Willock, Longstaff, Targett, Wood, St. Maximin, and Isaac have decided not to compete in the World Cup. They will have time to recharge their batteries and be ready for the second half of the season, which begins in December. This presents them with a significant competitive edge. While this is going on, the teams that they are competing against in order to earn berths in Europe will have the majority of their players participating in significant roles for the countries in which they are citizens during the World Cup. If you were to ask us, we would answer that Newcastle will definitely be playing in Europe during the following season, nonetheless. Then, we still have a significant portion of the season still to play. However, what are your thoughts on the matter? Is it possible for Newcastle United to maintain such an excellent level of play till the end of the season? Leave a comment below with your thoughts for us to consider. If you liked what you saw, give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to this channel. Additionally, make sure the bell notification is turned on so that you are alerted whenever new content is added. I'll see you in the subsequent one.